Feel free to check out my TeePublic after the video, and support me on Patreon. Watch till the end of the video for more. The year is 1971. Kamen Rider had just hit Japanese airwaves, and SCRYE revived the Ultra series with The Return of Ultraman, two of which are home to some of the biggest tokusatsu properties ever known, all thanks to what is known as the Henshin boom of the 70s. And watching at home is a young Hideaki Anno. But meanwhile, this was also the age of the second kaiju boom. The Godzilla franchise had just seen its 11th entry, named Godzilla vs. Hedorah. And somewhere, at a movie theater in Tokyo, sitting in the audience of this creature feature, is a young Shinji Higuchi. Before these two knew it, their paths would cross, and would become one of the strongest duos of the Japanese media industry, starting as elite college students when they founded Daikon Films. Anno had made his own short Ultraman fan films, aptly named Ultraman and the Return of Ultraman, whereas Higuchi brought life to the world of Takemiya Kai's Orochi Strikes Again. Then these two would collaborate with one another on future projects, such as Gunbuster, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Giant God Warrior appears in Tokyo. Even when separated, the influence from one another is still very present. Anno even makes a cameo in Higuchi's Submersion of Japan remake. Anno would even get involved in other anime productions like Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and Higuchi with Macross Plus. These two have been proven to be very talented filmmakers on their own, who can not only express a solid story, but are extremely passionate about the world of tokusatsu. Most notable being Anno's beloved Shikijitsu and cult favorite Cutie Honey, and Higuchi's phenomenal effects work on the Gamera trilogy, and cult favorite the Attack on Titan duology. But let's go to the year 2014. Legendary and Warner Brothers have rebooted the Godzilla franchise with an all-new American Godzilla movie with sequels being planned, to which Shinji Higuchi considers a masterpiece. But during the production of this American Godzilla film, Toho was feeling comfortable with the idea of producing Godzilla movies again. Though before we continue, let us look at another one of the film's major key players. Ren Osugi was one of the most popular actors in Japan, and while it partly has to do with his lengthy career, it mainly has to do with his critically acclaimed roles in films such as The Twilight Samurai, Cure, and Hanabi. He also notably worked closely with renowned filmmaker and actor Takeshi Kitano, appearing in many of his films. Osugi was very well known for his range as an actor, willing to take on various character types, whether they were serious or comical. He was given nicknames such as A Man with 300 Faces and Chameleon Actor. We will touch back on Osugi in just a bit. The origin for the name Shin Godzilla was not only because it was Godzilla's first Japanese film since 2004's Godzilla Final Wars, but also because of how many variables the word Shin can apply to the title. Toho had approached Hideaki Anno as early as 2013 to direct a Godzilla film. While Anno is a fan of Godzilla, he initially did not want to direct a Godzilla film. It is also worth noting that this was around the time Anno had completed Evangelion 3.0, when he fell into a deep state of depression, something Anno has struggled with his whole life. Yet things would change with time, thanks to the persuasion and support of his good friend, Shinji Higuchi, who at the time had just finished filming Attack on Titan, saying that Anno, as a Godzilla fan, would be missing out on an opportunity of a lifetime. And knowing the strong history these two filmmakers had together, Anno could not refuse, and the rest is history. But let us touch back on yet another modern era tokusatsu production. Before Shin Godzilla came Shinji Higuchi's two-part epic Attack on Titan in 2015, based on the popular manga of the same name. Despite the mixed critical reception and poor box office performance, it was considered a very ambitious production, bringing tokusatsu to the next level. On top of this, many of the people behind Attack on Titan, including its actors, would later end up in Shin Godzilla, namely Hiroki Hasegawa, who went from Shikishima to Rando Yaguchi. Others include Satomi Ishihara, Satoru Matsuo, Pierre Taki, Jun Kunimura, who was also in Godzilla Final Wars, Takahiro Miura, and others. Shin Godzilla has not only the largest cast of any Godzilla film, but also one of the largest casts in all of Japanese cinema. Other actors who would take part would also include Yutaka Takanouchi, Kengo Kora, as well as Akira Emoto, who many may remember from Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, Mikako Ichikawa from Anno's live-action Cutie Honey, and a very interesting addition being beloved cult filmmaker Shinya Tsukamoto, director of such masterful works such as Tetsuo the Iron Man, Tokyo Fist, Bullet Ballet, and Kotoko. Carried over from Attack on Titan would also be composer Shiro Sagisu, who had previously worked with Anno on Neon Genesis Evangelion. Others would include Katsuto Onoe and Yoshihiro Nishimura, who would then help work on the special effects with Higuchi, as well as special effects cinematographer Keiichi Sakurai. Aside from the aforementioned Shinya Tsukamoto, there was Kazuto Hara, known for his groundbreaking documentaries such as Sayonara CP and The Emperor's Naked Army Marches On. And speaking of Kazuto Hara, he appears in a scene where other fellow inspirations of Anno and Higuchi are referenced, being Mamoru Oshii, Hayao Miyazaki, and Isao Takahata, played by Hara himself. And another name involved in Shin Godzilla would be indie filmmaker Yoko Higuchi, no relation to Shinji Higuchi, who acted as one of the production assistants. You go, Yoko. But let us talk about the real star of the film, Godzilla. Designed by Takayuki Takeya, who previously designed the colossal Titan in Attack on Titan, Godzilla's appearance was not only modeled after the original Godzilla, given the skin texture reminiscent of keloid scars, but also Japanese god statues and Buddha statues, which explains why it is mostly upright with its hands facing upward and bent at its sides. The monster was originally planned to be portrayed as an animatronic, but then it was decided that Godzilla would be portrayed via motion capture. The actor playing Godzilla is Mansai Nomura, a popular stage actor, and who Akira Kurosawa fans may remember for playing the blind man Tsurumaru in Ran, and anime fans may remember him for voicing Giovanni Battista Caproni in The Wind Rises, which, ironically, Hideaki Anno voiced the main character in. Shin Godzilla for a Japanese film production has a gargantuan budget of about $15 million, and when time came to finally release the film, nothing could have prepared audiences for what was to come. After the appearance of a strange creature, Japan is thrown into panic. The creature is none other than an ever-evolving Godzilla. The Japanese government must do everything they can to prevent as much chaos as possible. While a simple plot, dissecting it reveals just how complex its beats are, as the film places a very heavy emphasis on the government's functionality, even going as far as to place the audience in the shoes of a Japanese bureaucrat, receiving information left and right in the form of on-screen subtitles. The film also draws heavy parallels to 311, when a very devastating earthquake and tsunami struck the Oshika Peninsula of the Tohoku region. During the incident, the Japanese government had to endure a lot of red tape that was only in the way of protecting its citizens. Meanwhile, this incident also resulted in a devastating nuclear disaster, as the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant was struck, leaving tons of radioactive material to contaminate the atmosphere and Japanese waters. The entirety of Shin Godzilla can be interpreted as a criticism of such complicated and problematic bureaucracy, as well as a symbol of nuclear horror, as Godzilla in the film feasted on radiation that had been dumped into the Pacific Ocean for decades. This truly was a Godzilla film unlike any other, yet it was met with an overwhelmingly positive reception in Japan, and is not only currently hailed as one of the greatest Godzilla movies ever, but also one of the most highest attended Godzilla films, on top of being one of the most highest attended Japanese films of all time. Lots of praises went into the movie's distinct directorial style, which was taken from filmmaker Kihachi Okamoto. Anno and Higuchi were both very passionate during the making of Shin Godzilla, much of their love for not only the Showa era of Godzilla's present, but also the films of Okamoto. Two films that served as the primary influence to Anno and Higuchi were Japan's Longest Day and Battle of Okinawa. If one were to compare the editing, pacing, and directorial styles among these films, there is no mistaking that there was a heavy influence on Shin Godzilla. As a matter of fact, Okamoto even posthumously appears in the film, in the form of a photograph of Goro Maki, a major key element that is very integral to the film. Goro Maki was a biology professor who was expelled from Japan. He made an astonishing discovery, being a creature that feasted on nuclear radiation. In the beginning of the film, we see that someone aboard a yacht had committed suicide, before Godzilla begins to make its emergence. but not without leaving behind some research about the creature. Maki's role in Shin Godzilla has been left up for interpretation. Was he testing Japan? Did he want revenge? It has been heavily speculated that Goro Maki himself is Godzilla, and all the evidence points to the timing of certain scenes, and the fact that there is not only a face at the end of Godzilla's tail, but a giant human skull housed inside of it. The music, composed by Shiro Sagisu, was another mention of praise. With such haunting tracks such as Persecution of the Masses and Who Will Know, which is written in the perspective of Godzilla, there are also multiple variations of Sagisu's decisive battle from Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is a variation of the track 007 theme present in the James Bond film From Russia with Love. The film also uses tracks by Akira Ifukube from films such as the original Godzilla, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Terror of Mechagodzilla, and Battle in Outer Space. Ifukube's tracks were actually re-recorded for the film, but ultimately went unused. It is also worth noting that for being the first Godzilla film to feature an entirely CGI Godzilla, the special effects were pulled off tremendously well, even though they may look a bit shoddy at a few points. There is no doubt that the CGI in Shin Godzilla is an achievement on its own. Speaking of Godzilla, this one is very unique. Throughout the film, the creature is constantly evolving, adapting to its environment. While Toho may have been against this, it was toy sponsor Bandai that convinced them that it would help them make more profit. But undermining this iteration of Godzilla through toy sales is a complete disservice to just how tragic the beast is, as it is confused and even in constant pain at times. A creature that is truly too big for our world. Godzilla also has an absolutely awe-inspiring moment more than halfway through the film, in which there is a full display of its menacing and horrific power. Another aspect of praise were the acting performances. While the characters may not be that developed, aside from the main character, Rando Yaguchi, each one has just enough personality to be memorable, and to leave a good impression. But considering what type of film this was, let us go back to Ren Osugi. Osugi was perhaps the most prestigious actor to take part in the production of Shin Godzilla, where he would take on the role of Japanese Prime Minister Seiji Okochi. Considering the subject matter of Shin Godzilla, especially during Shinzo Abe's run as Prime Minister, one can only imagine the pressure Osugi was enduring, but as always, he would deliver a phenomenal performance. On set, he was described as humble and polite, even during his deleted outburst scene. Once the take was over, him and the cast had a good laugh. But on February 21st, 2018, Ren Osugi would die of heart failure at age 66. The passing of Osugi brought overwhelming sadness from both fans of the actor and those who worked with him. Actor Tomoro Taguchi, who starred as the salaryman in Tetsuo the Iron Man, was close to him and was deeply saddened by his passing. Ren Osugi is still hailed as one of Japan's finest and greatest actors, and his legacy lives on. Shin Godzilla would go on to be considered as the best Japanese film of 2016, winning numerous prestigious accolades. Even those working in the Japanese media industry such as Hajime Isayama and Mamoru Oshii loved Shin Godzilla. Some fans, like myself, would even go as far as to say that it is superior to the original. Funny enough, Shin Godzilla's praise was so great that Shinji Higuchi even teased fans that there was an alternate cut of the film that Toho was originally planning to release, and that concepts of Godzilla's first form exist somewhere, both of which are false. But despite its global popularity and massive success, some can't quite shake something off that doesn't sit well with them. Mainly in the West, Shin Godzilla was also considered a bit controversial. Many have accused the film of being ultra-right-wing propaganda and pro-extreme nationalist, where Japan must show the world that it is strong and can handle its own. But this really is not the case. In a scene early on in the film, the main character denounces imperialism, addressing to another government official that his mindset was what lost World War II for Japan, as Yaguchi directly states that such ignorance that was rooted in the old imperial army and their armchair theories led to the loss of 3 million Japanese lives at the end of said war. And Japan is not alone when it comes to handling Godzilla. The country receives help from France, Germany, and the United States, which promotes the idea of a country balancing out chaos while also accepting outside help, despite frustrating foreign policies. Additionally, both Anno and Higuchi have denounced this claim, and have both stated that it wasn't their intention, Higuchi even addressing this when asked in an interview for Kaiju Masterclass. Nationalism is present in the film, but not the extreme ultra-nationalism of pro-imperialistic Japan that some accuse the film of being, nor is the film intended to be anti-American. Another point of criticism is that Godzilla lacks personality. The character may stand out, but has taken a backseat for a good majority of the film. Well, after everything that has been mentioned, it is easy to come to the conclusion that this isn't a movie about Godzilla, but a government trying to protect its people through flawed bureaucracy. And over the years, Godzilla has been proven to be a character who can be adapted into any given scenario. Godzilla is an actor who can take on any role it wishes, but ultimately, Godzilla is an idea that culminates into the embodiment of our own hubris. In Shin Godzilla's case, nuclear horror. In fact, Godzilla is essentially a walking monolith that happens to fire lasers. That concept alone should be rather terrifying. The influence Shin Godzilla has on Japan, as well as the current generation of Godzilla, is unfathomably unprecedented. Upon release, one may even call this wave Shin Godzilla Mania, as this specific version of Godzilla has essentially become the face of the franchise when it comes to merchandise, theme park attractions, and even statues. The film would be the starting point of the Reiwa era of Godzilla films, and would even go on to inspire the likes of Godzilla anime, such as the Polygon movie trilogy, and more notably, Godzilla Singular Point, which also contains a very complex story with an ever-evolving Godzilla. The anime even mimics scenes from Shin Godzilla. There is no doubt that Shin Godzilla is easily one of the most influential films to come from Japan. But what about Anno and Higuchi? Well, at the time of this video, they are currently cooperating on Shin Ultraman, which, by the looks of it, seems to be rather Akio Jisoji inspired, Jisoji being another influence for the two filmmakers. But what does the future of Godzilla hold now? Will there be more animated installments? Will Godzilla ever return to live action in Japan? Only time will tell. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like this and support the channel further, then by all means, support me on Patreon, where for a single $1, your name can appear at the end of every future upload. Other than that, you can also get early access to videos, exclusive content, commissioned video requests, and receive a t-shirt of your choice from my TeePublic. And don't forget to tune into the next episode of Toku Titancast, where we look back on Shin Godzilla. And don't forget to check out the commentary on Yoko Higuchi's channel. And don't forget to check out the interview I did with Yoko Higuchi on Toku Titancast. All of that will be in the description. Also want to give a very special thank you to Sean of Shots of Japanese Cinema for helping me out with a decent portion of this video. If y'all haven't, please go check him out. He's such an amazing guy. And once I reach enough patrons, I'll do a video covering several unmade Godzilla films, so if that's something you'd like to see, then go support me on Patreon. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is TitanGoji, signing off.